What's up, everybody? Welcome to what we're calling Kylie and Cole, so it can be KC, play on KC Chiefs. This is episode 2. We're still figuring it out, but hey, there's already 152 people in here. Welcome. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. Recap the Lions game. Tony trolling Giants fans, talk about the Bengals and Bills a little bit. Chris Jones ended his holdout. A bunch of players spoke to the media today. And then, of course, Chiefs versus Jags. And hopefully, Travis Kelce will be playing. So let's talk about it. But first, how about those Chiefs? Hey, let's go. What's up, Kylie? How you doing?
I'm great. I'm a lot better now than I was, late last week. I feel like this last weekend of football is made me feel a lot more comfortable about the state of Chiefs football. So especially after watching Monday night. So I'm good. I'm excited for this weekend.
Did the Chiefs game happen and then you started battling a cold? Is that what happened? Because you said you were battling a cold.
Battling a cold. I started battling a cold Wednesday night last week, and I kept mentally telling myself, no. There's a Chiefs game. There's a Chiefs game. You're not sick. There's no way you're sick for the first Chiefs game of the year. So kind of put it off. And then Friday morning, I don't know if it was the loss or just everything catching up to me, but Friday was really rough. And then over the weekend, I just wasn't feeling well. But there was so much football on that it was like the perfect excuse for me to just be lazy and be sick.
Yep.
So it worked out, and now I'm feeling a little bit better. But if you hear me cough, I apologize. I'm going to try and keep that under control. You know how the end of colds can get. So yeah, but I'm much better. I'm much better.
The reason I was asking is because my daughter came down with a cold. A couple days later, my wife came down with a cold. So now they're all upstairs with colds, and I'm just waiting to get it. Hopefully, what is today? Wednesday? If I get it, I just hope it's like tomorrow, and then we're done by Sunday. But hey, we might be calling a flu game on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. Chiefs versus Jags. But hey, you know what else? We were sick, but I was also sick and tired. And we'll get there. But I was sick and tired of getting roasted for losing to the Lions by 1 point. Then, for fan bases that were roasting us, to watch their teams get absolutely demolished on television. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, I've talked about it a bunch on this channel already, but we don't get to hear you and your thoughts. So I'd love to hear your main takeaways from the Lions game. Are you concerned? Any of your thoughts about that game? And then we're moving on. We'll move on to better things.
Yeah. We're looking to brighter days. I was like a lot of people. I was like overreaction Friday for sure. You know, the drops were, pretty present in my head. I think that the defense came out and played really well. Going into it that without Chris Jones, it was going to be a really tough battle, but I felt like the defense went out, they held their own. Karlaftis did well. He had some really great pressure. Dana had a great game. He had a sack, I believe. You saw FAU getting involved. McDuffie had an awesome game. So I felt really encouraged by the defense. Offense, not so much. I think that adjustment with Travis, obviously Travis Kelce went out 2 days before the game. So that doesn't give the team a lot of time to game plan, kind of figure out, okay, here's what we're going to do. I also thought that with such a young receiving core, it was not only the first game of the year, but then you're asking them to make these adjustments so quickly. So in hindsight, it's not as bad as I think I was making it coming away on Friday morning, but got to clean up those drops. Got to have better communication, and the route running has to be better. And I felt like the receivers really struggled to get separation, specifically Sky Moore. Obviously, we know Tony had some drop issues. So I think, again, hindsight, it's not as bad as I was feeling about it on Friday, especially after watching the games on Sunday and then that train wreck on Monday night. I was like, we were missing 2 of our best players and only lost by 1 to the number 4 scoring offense last season, and a team that's on the up and up and probably going to be a playoff team later this year. So I felt much more encouraged leaving Monday night. How do you feel after the game? So you feeling better about it?
Yeah, definitely. And you had a couple things I'll piggyback on in there, but yeah, even after losing to the Lions and actually thinking about it, all things considered, with no Chris Jones, no Aminihu, no Kelce, 1 point game down to the wire. I actually felt relatively decent about it, all things considered. But then we went into the weekend, and I watched the Browns beat the brakes off the Bengals. And then I watched Josh Allen throw 3 picks and have a fumble and blew that game completely against the Jets, who lost their starting QB 4 snaps in. Everybody knows this by now. Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. He got placed on IR today or yesterday. He just had a heartfelt post that he shared online earlier today that he's heartbroken and still going through all the emotions of, basically his dreams of being a Jet for the year being basically flushed down the toilet. So that was tough. I felt way better about the Chiefs, especially after the weekend. The Bengals got beat so bad, and I don't really care, to be honest. But when that fan base in particular goes nuts on every social media, they're all in my comments. I mean, we had 2 days. We had we had people all in my chats saying that stupid phrase. And then for them to go in there, and I mean, they got wiped by the Stains. I mean, it was so bad. I couldn't even believe it. I was watching in shock. It looked like, and we'll move on because I've talked about this so much in my stream, but it looked like Burrow was rushed out there a little bit, kind of like Tony. I felt like Tony got rushed out there a little bit. And Andy Reid owned that part. He said, maybe I had Tony out there a bit too much. I probably shouldn't have had him as the primary receiver on some of these routes. Definitely what you said, miscommunication, Richie James and Tony being off on that mesh concept crosser route. And that led to an incompletion. The short yardage situations honestly also had to do with the incompletions. And we'll talk more about it when we talk Chiefs Jags at the end, because I think some of the keys to victory are eliminating some of the issues from the first game against the Lions. But speaking of Kadarius Toney, we brought this up. He watched the Giants on Sunday Night Football. They got curb stomped 40-0. He gets on Instagram because he deactivated his Twitter and started saying some stuff. He was asked about it today in his presser. Did you hear his presser or see any of the takeaways?
I did see his presser. I was really impressed with him to own up to some of the mistakes, but I think it's okay. I mean, we like to have a little fun. I understand it was coming off sort of a bad game for him, so maybe the timing for him wasn't great. It's like, man, why don't you clean up your stuff first? But I think it's all fun. We saw him doing this all summer long, so I don't know that we should be shocked when they go down 40-0 to the Cowboys that he's going to immediately jump on that. But I think it's fine. Obviously, he needs to have a really good game on Sunday, or at least kind of redeem himself a little bit. Or I think Giants fans are probably going to be coming for him, and I don't know that he wants that. But I know, didn't he get rid of? He got rid of Instagram though, too, right? He had already gotten rid of Twitter.
He still has it. I thought he got rid of his IG, but he did not. He still got it.
Okay, but he doesn't have Twitter anymore. That he got rid of a few weeks ago. Okay, yeah. But it wouldn't surprise me hopefully this doesn't happen. He has an amazing game. I think that's what's going to happen. But if not, if he makes a mistake, I could see Giants fans coming right back with the trolling. So if you're able to dish it out, you got to be able to take it.
It'll never stop, the back and forth. No. He was asked today by a media member talking about Tony. He said something along the lines of, "It seems like you're obsessed with Giants fans on social media." And Tony actually laughed. He was like, he basically said, "They troll me, I troll them back." It's as simple as that. But his presser was actually really good. He owned up to his drops. He said, "That's all on me." Reporters kind of came back and said, "Well, do you think, maybe it had to do with the fact that you had surgery, you weren't at training camp, you weren't in preseason?" And Tony literally said, "Look, guys, no excuses. I don't have any excuses to dropping those passes." And he just owned it. He owned it. He said Andy Reid and Mahomes have encouraged him. They've talked through it. They've processed, and he's ready to go. He's ready to go for week 2. And I am excited to see how he responds to all those drops and just that performance in general.
I completely agree. I thought I was never one of the people that was super hard on him following Thursday's game. I mean, obviously you can't have someone who's your wide receiver 1 or being deemed wide receiver 1 with that many drops. But I think, like you said, he kind of got rushed back. I think there were obviously some communication issues going on out there, and he isn't quite in sync with Mahomes yet. I think he'll get there. I think that's going to be fine. But I just was really impressed with the way that he owned up to everything. Like you said, he was like, guys, that's on me. He kind of went to the team, said, that's on me. To the media saying, I got to clean it up. I got to execute. He said that he was staying late after practice, catching extra balls, putting in the extra work. I thought that was really great to hear. Obviously, I want to hear that coming from a receiver, that they're going to put in extra work to execute better in the game. So I thought that he came off really well in that presser, and I was really glad that he got to speak today, because I think there were a lot of unanswered questions for fans and obviously for the media. How are you feeling, and where are you at with your mentality? So I thought that was a really good for him to speak, and I was glad to hear from him.
Yep. I had no idea he was going to speak, so I was pleasantly surprised about that. Another person, should we go there? We can go there. Another person that spoke today was Chris Jones. And before we kind of get into the presser itself, big news this week. He ended his holdout, got a new, I kind of use it in quotes, a new 1-year deal, kind of just put incentives into this contract that he can basically earn back how much he got fined and lost out due to missing game 1. And he can make a little bit more than that, but it's a little hard for him to do so. He's like one of the incentives that are, in my eyes, not likely to be earned. The Chiefs have to win the Super Bowl, which that's not impossible. They've been to 3 of the last 4, but they have to win the Super Bowl, and he has to get Defensive Player of the Year for a $2 million incentive to be hit there, and that's hard. So I've talked about this so much. I would love to get your thoughts on what you think about, were you surprised about this being just a 1-year deal? And how are you feeling since all this has gone down, his return, and then he spoke to the media today?
I was definitely surprised about it being a 1-year deal, only because I don't think, for me personally, I wasn't thinking in that sense. I was thinking it's going to be all or nothing. Either he's going to hold out till week 8 and we're not going to get a deal done, and that's just how it's going to be, or they're going to get a deal done and they're going to get an extension done, and he'll be a Chief for the next few years. So when they kind of came together on this, what I would consider a compromise to pay him a little bit more this year, while still maybe hopefully trying to figure something out next year, I was a little surprised, but also really happy about it, because I am thinking about right now personally. I'm thinking about, the goal is to repeat. The goal is to have this team back together for one more hurrah, at least to get back to the Super Bowl. So I was happy about it. You hear a lot of fans saying, well, we're going to see this drama again next year. And I was like, guys, I just want to enjoy the win for today. Like, he's back at practice. He's back with the team. Like, spirits are high again. Like, let's just enjoy this. We'll worry about March when March gets here. We'll worry about that. And, who knows? Maybe something will happen between now and then. They will get an extension worked out. I don't know. But I was just happy to have him back in the building, have him back around the team. I thought his presser was interesting, because obviously, every question was going to be, hey, why'd you hold out? Hey, why were you in the suite? Hey, how did it make you feel when you were watching your team lose? Like, those are obviously going to be the questions that you're given. And he didn't really give us a lot to go off of. He said he was going to stick with his management, or his agents, which I thought was really interesting, because I think the general consensus across at least the fan base is that, okay, your agents didn't really do any favors. You didn't really get any more money. It's all incentive based. And then, you've got a lot to prove. But at the end of the day, I mean, contract year is undefeated. So I'm excited to see what he can do with this new contract, and see what he's going to do to prove that he can get a bigger contract next year. How are you feeling? I haven't really heard from you on it.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I actually like what you said, just focusing on the here and now with his contract. Like, yeah, that's kind of a problem for another day, talking about what's going to happen next with him, because now he pretty much said it. Hey, guys, I'm not even worrying about next year. He reiterated, I want to be a Chief for life. I would love to get something done long-term after the season, but he's focused on the Jags. He's focused on the here and the now. And yeah, there was some interesting stuff in that presser. He said he's very happy, basically, with his management, and happy with how the situation played out. I'm over here like, what are you talking about, dude? How are you very happy with how things turned out? It makes no sense. He held out for months, and he has the opportunity to earn $1.8 more million this year than if he just would have showed up and played. So I'm also a little bit worried about the fact that he hasn't played. He hasn't had any football conditioning, meaning, like, he's been working out, but I'm talking about getting in pads and hitting people. the grueling practices at training camp, the drives that he would have done, limited or not, during preseason, the full game he would have under his belt with the Lions. I want to be clear. I'm very glad he's back. Very grateful because, as we'll talk about here in a bit, the Jags are dealing with some injuries on the O-line. Their starting center, their right guard, I believe it is, and then I forgot about this, but their left tackle, the starting left tackle, I believe he was suspended for 4 weeks of the season. So they're kind of doing some stuff with their O-line right now, and Chris Jones is a very good guy to have back. With all that being said, the situation was weird as hell. The holdout was odd. How everything went down, watching him with his mafia bodyguards at Arrowhead in the suite was odd. But we're done. He's back, and yay. So now the question is, can they get everything ready and get him able to play on Sunday? They have an exemption for 2 weeks. Basically, he's off the did not report list. He's got a 2-week exemption, or I think it's an exemption. I might be saying the wrong term. But the Chiefs have a couple weeks now to get him back on the roster. I think they want to do it ASAP. So that you saw they restructured Tooney's contract. You see that? They freed up like $8.7 million in cap space. They need a little bit more room, but they're very close. He passed his physical, I would assume, because he was practicing today. I don't see why they would let him out on the practice field without passing a physical. So then they just got to make room on the 53 after they get enough cap space, and he should be playing Sunday. Are you confident, or how confident are you that he plays Sunday?
Oh, I think he's going to play. To your point, I do think they have to free up a little bit more space. Not to get too much into the weeds about this, but I would love to see them restructure Kelce personally. I don't know what that looks like for them, but I just think he's a guy that deserves it. He's a guy that deserves to be restructured, get a little bit more money there. Obviously, we've heard a lot all offseason about how he's not making enough money. A lot of different teams, a lot of even his agents are talking about, how he maybe doesn't make enough money. So I would love to see them do something with Kelce. Doesn't mean that they will, but back to your original question, I do think that we're going to see Jones back on the field. Now, whether that's 30% or 50%, I definitely think we'll see him about 50% of the day out there. To your point, I believe he was asked in the presser, are you in shape? And he's like, we'll find out. We'll find out. Because, he's been working, but are you in rep shape? Are you in football shape? He's a big guy. I think, like you were saying, with the offensive line, that the Jags are having those troubles that they're having. They've got the injuries. I think it would be a good opportunity for him to kind of get back into things. So we'll see. But I definitely expect him to be out there. The Jags, in my opinion, their offense is a little bit more high-powered. I think you've got Trevor Lawrence, who's a little bit more mobile than Goff is. So we're just going to need to be able to rush with 4, get home with 4, rather than trying to blitz all the time. So I think we see him out there. I think Spags is going to want him out there.
Yeah. The question is how much? How much will he be able to play? But I do agree. I think he's going to be wanted out there. Before we get to Jags, because we started hinting at it, Abe Lincoln, the homie, rest in peace to the legend, said, why is it that when the Chiefs lose by 1, everyone's mocking them, but when Burrow, Fields, or Jones struggles, nothing? Well, I'll say this. I would think Daniel Jones got smoked on social media. I mean, you lose 40-0. It was not good. I also think, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like Burrow got thrown under a little bit when they lost to the Browns. I mean, he did not look good. It was not a good day. I think us as Chiefs fans, we see it the worst when the Chiefs lose. And I will say this too, Mahomes is held to a little bit higher standard in my eyes because he's QB1. Mm-hmm. So if he falls, even if he doesn't have a horrible game, they're gonna throw everything they can at him to try to drag him back down to the rest. He just can't do that. You can't drag him down with the rest because he's not down there with the rest.
I completely agree. That the old saying is like, work hard to get to the top, even harder to stay on the top, and everybody wants a piece of you and all of that. I just think that we're an easy target right now because everybody wants to see us fall. Everybody wants to see somebody else in the Super Bowl or somebody else succeed. So I think it's just an easy target to be like, oh, well, they're not perfect. You see, guys, they're not perfect. They've got flaws too. And also Daniel Jones, I did see him getting quite a bit of hate online because of that contract he signed, and people being like, "This is what you paid for this guy." And no disrespect to Daniel Jones, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And then with Burrow, I think I saw similar things. He had just became the highest paid QB, and then he got
Yep.
benched, a couple days later. So not a great look, not a great look. And then I think the Josh Allen turnovers speak for themselves, right? That was just one mistake after another. And for a guy who ended poorly last year with kind of a turnover problem going into this season, that was something he said he was focusing on. He was going to be better about his decision making. And then boom, 4 turnovers in a game, which is the opposite of good decision making. So he definitely got grilled for that too. So I think at the end of the day, people just want to see Chiefs Kingdom fall, but they're going to have to wait a little bit longer, I fear.
It's kind of like when the Patriots wouldn't quit freaking winning. I was like, please lose. I always thought it was nice. I was like, thank God. The Chiefs are there now. It just is what it is. Like it or hate it or love it. Some people say I've been waiting my whole life for the Chiefs to get, ridiculed this much because of what we've had to go through to get here. So yeah, that I agree with you. And yeah, now we're moving on to week 2. So
real quick, did
something?
you did you see, I think it was like NFL memes or something, but they were like, it was a good weekend, the Chiefs lost, and then they listed like 3 other things that Coco won, and then like all these little different things that happened around sports, but it was just felt like a united front from the NFL. Like, yeah, the Chiefs lost, like you were saying, like whenever we were seeing the Patriots dynasty, I was always one to group with everybody else and thinking, please lose. So I get it. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, we're here now, and we got the targets. So I want to share my screen, and I want to look at. Let me see what happens when I do this. Okay, that's not exactly what I want it to look like. I want it to look like this. I just want to glance really quick here at the injury report for this game. So basically, we're kind of shifting gears from the past, from game 1 to from last week to Chris Jones returning, and here we are, new week. I could easily fly through the Chiefs. Everybody practiced. Clyde was sick though. The only limited participants was Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, and Snead. I'm not too worried I'd love to get your thoughts, but I'm not too worried about Snead being limited. I think they're just kind of taking it easy on that knee before this next game. He played, I think the whole game against the Lions. Kelce, that's the one for me. And we titled the stream, Kelce is trending towards playing, and the thumbnail basically said, will he play? Things are up. He spoke on his podcast this morning. Did you hear about that and what he said?
I did listen this morning. It was really interesting. I don't want to ruin it for anyone if you haven't listened to New Heights yet, but he does go into the whole journey about the injury and kind of getting back and what that's like, and not only what it's like physically, but what it takes on your body, what toll it takes on your body emotionally and mentally, and how you kind of have to get right with that and accept that you might not be able to be out there this week, but you can still help and, be part of the team. So I don't want them to rush him back by any means. I don't know. I think given that there's been a little bit more time to game plan, knowing that Kelce might not play, I think they would be a little bit better off against the Jags than they were with the Lions because they've got more time to prep. But I don't want to see him rush him back. But man, I would love to have Kelce back. There's just something like that offense runs through Kelce. It was very evident in the Lions game. We need him. If anything in the game, like even if he's not getting targets, even as a decoy, putting him out there as a decoy a little bit. Yeah.
He's drawn doubles a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, I would like to see him out there, if anything, for that, but be easy on him.
Yeah, he said he's feeling better. Things are going well. And honestly, there was a clip that surfaced. Aaron Ladd of Channel 41 shared it. Did you see? It was the first time Kelce saw Chris Jones out on the football field today at practice, on the practice field. You see that?
I did.
Yeah, Kelce, it made you cry?
No. Like maybe tears of joy, just because those are two of like your solid rocks, the foundation of the team. Like to
Yeah,
see them
no, for
reunited,
sure.
it was really sweet. Especially after hearing Kelce. I don't want to say beg for Chris Jones to come back, but a couple weeks ago on New Heights, he was certainly expressing that he missed him and that he was hoping he'd come back. So it was really cute to see. I liked it.
Yeah, one other thing I took from that though, that like Kelce was kind of I mean, he was moving a little interestingly, I guess, on his knee, but he jumped and like shoulder bumped Chris Jones, and he's moving around like pretty well. So I'm intrigued to see how his knee is actually going to do. He supposedly was supposed to run on it. Andy Reid said today in his presser, Kelce did his walkthrough today, and then was supposed to participate in practice, and then they're just going to keep monitoring him. He's day-to-day, as is Chris Jones. I think Chris Jones is just more, there's nothing injury related. It's just ramp-up period. Getting him back. This is crazy. He has not practiced with the team since the week of the Super Bowl. How freaking crazy is that? What? That's mind. I mean, I know it, but when I say it, it's really wild because it's been so long. I think, unless you have any other things to say, I think Clyde should be good. He's got a sickness, but like everybody else fully participated. You got Richie James, Nick Jones, Kadarius Toney, and Turk Wharton. And I would presume all of those guys play. So that's kind of what it looks like on the Chiefs end. Go ahead, Kylie.
Yeah, no, the only other thing I was going to add is I think you kind of hit on it, but with Snead, I think they're just kind of being easy with him in practice because you're right. I think he played the whole game on Thursday, and he did well. I mean, it's going to take him a second to get back with contact and everything, but I appreciate them going easy on him with all of the knee swelling he's had. So Wharton will be interesting. He's been kind of working his way back in. The Clyde thing, I do want to touch on just a little
Yeah, go ahead.
because I don't know what this illness is. I mean, I was just talking about how I had a cold. It could be something like that. But with Clyde, we know he's got a little bit of an injury history, a little bit of an illness history. So that's just something I would be interested to see how that progresses. And if it is truly just a cold like I have, or if there's anything else going on.
Yeah, I feel like Frank Clark was the guy known to be sick. I don't feel like that was Clyde, but I will say this. He's missed this might be his fourth practice missed over the past month or so due to sickness or illness. So I don't know if they're separate events or if it's all related. It seems like it's far enough apart. It's got to be something else, but it is interesting and something to keep an eye on throughout the season for sure. I did a little bit of research on the Jags injury report. Doug Peterson spoke today. He said that Antonio Johnson, their safety hamstring, probably won't play. He's still away from being back on the field. Gregory Jr., he is one of their cornerbacks dealing with a hamstring issue that was sustained in the Colts game. So they played week 1. Brandon Scherf, their starting, is that their starting center? Pretty sure it is.
He's their guard, I think. Go on, though.
Guard. Well, there's a center and Luke Fortner. One is the right guard and one's the center. They're both kind of, so far, there's an unknown there of them playing. Scherf suffered an ankle injury in the Colts game and is day-to-day, and Luke is also day-to-day, but a bit further ahead than Brandon Scherf. So that's your right guard. That's your center. Their left tackle, I believe, was suspended for 4 games. So that's something to watch because the Chiefs are getting Chris Jones back, and the Jags are suffering some injuries there on their O-line. So that is definitely something worth monitoring and could be a key to victory. I don't want to spoil some stuff because I don't know what you're going to say, but I'd love to kind of go there about Chiefs and Jags. And then, guys, we'll take the last 10-ish, 10 minutes answering any super chats or any questions that you guys have. But, yeah, right now, Chiefs going to Jacksonville Sunday. Noon game. It's the last noon game until Christmas, I believe. So some people say they like noon games. They don't. For me, since I cover the team, I love a noon game because it's done by 3. I'm off my stream by 3:30, and then I can basically make content all day and all night, and I don't have to stay up till 4. When they do Sunday Night Football or the Sunday night games, I am so exhausted. So the early game's nice. They are 3.5-point favorites currently. You gonna say something? You can.
How late were you up on Thursday or
I was
Friday
only up till
morning?
like I was only up to like 1, but it's because I didn't
Okay.
drop. I'm kind of deciding or figuring out that I'm not Superman. So I didn't drop like a long form video. We just made like a short form recap of some of the stuff. And since the Chiefs lost, I wasn't even in a hurry to get out a long form video anyway. So yeah, I was only up
Right.
to like 1, but I have stayed up like the draft. I've stayed up to like 4 or 5 a.m. dropping videos. I used to do that for Sunday night games. I can't, dude, because my kids don't sleep in. So I could go to bed at 4 and they do not give a blankety blank. They literally don't care. So I can't sleep in. Cannot sleep in, but that's fine. This is
Yeah.
an
So you're
interesting
probably not
matchup.
a
Go
sorry,
ahead.
you're just probably not a big fan. There's so many primetime games. You're gonna have to figure something
Um,
out. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot.
yeah, it's fine. I kind of save like the long form edits for the morning. Unless it's an insane game and I'm just like I have to drop a video now or something, then I'll do that. But thankfully this is a noon
Guys,
game. So
guys, Cole is the hardest working person I think I know. This is kudos to you. Just real quick, shout out to Cole for putting in all the hours so that we can get good Chiefs content. You're doing great. Now we can talk
uh
about Jags football. Now we can talk
yeah,
about Chiefs Jags.
let's move on from that, but I'll take the compliment and just say thank you. I appreciate it. I think Tom Grossi, congrats to Tom Grossi, by the way, who hit 500,000 subs. He might work harder, but we trying our best out here. The Jags matchup is interesting to me for a couple reasons. We played them twice last year. Chiefs beat them both times. The first game was what, 27-20. The next game was it 27-17? Am I getting these
I
scores
think
right, or is it
I thought
backwards?
the playoffs was 27-20. I could be wrong.
I think I might have said
I
the backwards. Either way, it was a 7-point game and then a 10-point game. I do remember this. Game 1, they sacked Trevor Lawrence 5 times, and that was in November, which is going to be a key for me. Like, can we get home to Trevor Lawrence, who is a great quarterback, and they're taking good steps forward this year, talking about the Jags team as a whole. He's got Calvin Ridley, definite weapon. They had a great game last week. It was the Colts. It actually looks scary for the Jags for a minute. I was like, yo, are they gonna pull a Chiefs versus the Colts? But they did not do that. The second game, another couple of things that I really found interesting, because the second game was the divisional round when Mahomes hurt his ankle. But Kelce, who we don't know is going to play, he had 98 yards receiving in both touchdowns that Mahomes threw. No. Mahomes threw 2 touchdowns, but one was from Henne. So Kelce had 2 touchdowns. Sorry, I'm like trying to multitask. So this membership thing pop up. Thanks, Ron, by the way. And it was like on your forehead. So yeah, Kelce had 98 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, and he's questionable to play. So that's going to be something to watch. Pacheco had almost 100 yards rushing in that game against the Jags, which I found super interesting as well. So yeah, I mean, the first game against the Jags, Mahomes had 330 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an INT. It was a lot closer the second game, but Mahomes was also injured and not right and not the same, and Henne came in for that drive, that 98-yard drive. But this is intriguing to me because we've played them twice. This is the third time playing them in a 365-day period. Doug Peterson, great coach. I think they're making some great moves. We could stay on their offense maybe if you want to talk offense, and then we'll kind of flip, go Chiefs defense, and then we'll 180 that and go defense for the Jags, then Chiefs offense.
Okay, so we're talking Jags offense.
I said that so confusingly.
Yeah,
God bless
like
America.
wait.
Yeah, we were talking about let's stay on the Jags offense, and then we'll go Chiefs D.
All right. So, like you were saying earlier, their O line is definitely struggling with injuries right now. And we've seen how, and obviously it's not the same, but we've seen how an O line can really set you back. Chiefs Super Bowl, that was very evident how important your O line is. I mean, we just saw it with the Jets game. That O line is kind of a mess. Aaron Rodgers ends up hurt. So, it's going to be interesting, especially if we've got Chris Jones back to see. I think Chris Jones, if he's back, he'll have the energy. He's got, like I said earlier, it's a prove it year. He's got that contract he's working towards, the incentives that he's working towards. So I think given how much he plays, he's going to be a game wrecker. Additionally, I think when you bring in Chris Jones, you have the additional double coverage with him. So then you've got Karlaftis, who's going to get a little bit more pressure. I think we'll see a couple sacks from him. So I just think that the Jaguars are going to struggle with that offensive line. I believe with Calvin Ridley back, though, he had, I think, over 100 yards last game, and he's definitely proven that he's their strong wide receiver one. He had a touchdown. Their run game with ETN, it's not the strongest, but I mean, he had a good game. I think he had a touchdown last game. So they definitely have weapons between ETN, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk. So there's definitely multiple guys for Trevor Lawrence to throw to. I think Doug Peterson's a really great coach. I mean, he came from he's part of the Andy Reid coaching tree. So I think we're going to see him. Yeah, exactly. The best tree. I think we're going to see him sort of maybe try and exploit that blitz a little bit, knowing that Spags does blitz quite a bit and that Trevor Lawrence is a little bit more mobile. So I think we're going to see them try a couple different things. And I think that you're really going to see a lot from Ridley. But I think overall, if we can get more pressure, that's going to give our cornerbacks a little bit more time to gel and stay with the receivers. And hopefully we see a little bit more from our secondary than we did with the Lions. So that's where I'm going to go. What do you got?
Yeah, I think we got to watch out for ETN. He had 100 yards from scrimmage last game, 77 rushing and 30-ish in the air. It was 27. So that's somebody I think they need to keep an eye on. Maybe not to the extent of Jahmyr Gibbs, even though I think ETN is just as he's his own player. But Spags basically said whenever Jahmyr Gibbs is out on the field, I want everybody to look at him. So if maybe they'll treat ETN like Jahmyr Gibbs out there and just everybody pay attention, but definitely got to keep your eyes on him. And then, Calvin Ridley, he bet on himself last season. Literally but he didn't bet on himself. That was bad. He did not play last year because he got suspended. So he's a nice acquisition. I was curious to see how Ridley would look. And 8 catches. I think he was targeted 11 times and caught 8 of them for 101 yards. So one of the touchdowns, Zay Jones caught another. He had 5 for 55. And then their tight end, Evan Ingram. Honestly, I think the Chiefs have their hands full. Not in a way that they couldn't overcome, but I think the Chiefs defense has to come out. I think Spags had a great game plan against the Lions. Think about it. They held them to 14 points. Tony gifted them a pick 6. So that's their 21. But you can't play games with the Jags, dude. They're real. I think they're going to be playoff contenders again, and I think they're here to stay. And you can no longer sleep on the Jags, man. You can no longer do such a thing. I think you kind of nailed it. Chris Jones, got to work him in. Secondary's got to step up. I would be curious to see if they put McDuffie on Ridley. I'd just be curious to see if they put Snead on him, what their game plan is kind of there. Maybe they'll just kind of keep both of those guys on their own sides, but definitely curious about that. And then hopefully with Snead being limited, it's just a precaution and they're just kind of going easy on him and he'll be fine and good to go. As far as, I piggyback on that and then we'll switch sides.
No, just real quick. I think because we're coming off of a loss, I know there's a lot of questions. Will Chris Jones, will he play? Will he not play? How much will he play? I think with us coming off of a loss, we're going to see him out there a lot. A lot more than, like you were just saying, Jags have a much higher powered offense than the Lions do. So we're going to have him out there. I think I saw a comparison without Chris Jones on the field. They were averaging, you might have a graphic for it, but 6 yards a carry or 7 yards a carry. But then with Chris Jones, it's 6 yards a carry. So I'm probably wrong on those stats, but in general, I'm just saying
Chris Jones makes a difference.
He makes a big difference. Yeah. And even though the defense played well against the Lions, without him, he's going to draw double coverage. He's going to draw that attention, and he's going to open up some space for, FAU and George, our boy George. I think George is going to have a big game. I know we're not there yet, but I'm really excited.
Let's just go there. Let's talk. Let's flip it now. Let's go Chiefs defense. Or actually, we did kind of just talk about Chiefs defense. I'm tripping. But let me add something. On the Chiefs D-line in particular, they had 3 batted down passes last game. 3 batted down passes, which is kind of like a hidden stat. It's an incompletion. Some say it's kind of like a sack. I don't really see it as that because the clock still runs on a sack, but it's a loss of a down. So I would love to see that continue, even if they're not getting home. Like on paper, you're like, oh, they only got to Goff one time. They only sacked him one time. Well, they also batted down 3 passes, once on 4th and 2. So if they can keep that going, I think that's another key for me as well. And then let's flip it. Let's talk Jags defense, and then we can kind of talk that between Chiefs offense as well. The defense is something intriguing to me. They've got Cisco. We know who Cisco is. He's the guy who he hurt Juju. He gave Juju a boo-boo. And then he hit MVS shortly after. And some people say he's dirty. There's a post going around viral on Twitter. I don't know that he's necessarily a dirty player. I don't know that it's intentional. I think he's just aggressive and loves to freaking hit people. I think to play football, you have to be kind of sick because you have to love pain, and just love violence. And I think he's just one of those dogs. So we definitely got to watch out for him. I also saw an interesting stat. I said we need to watch out for Josh Allen, the defensive end, not the QB. Josh Allen had as many sacks week 1 against the Colts as Josh Allen had interceptions against the Jets, 3. He's also a former teammate of Jawan Taylor, and they're going to have to watch. I think they're going to put him against Jawan Taylor quite a bit. So that's kind of something for me to watch, is going to be Jawan Taylor against Josh Allen, the guy who gets sacks, not throws INTs.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like that's been a big enough storyline. The whole Jawan Taylor now with the Chiefs thing. I don't feel like that's been talked about enough, at least not until now for me anyway. But yeah, I know Josh Allen had mentioned that this is personal for him. This is like playoffs for him. And then I think we saw offensively Trevor Lawrence saying sort of the opposite. We're just kind of looking to play. We're just taking it game by game. So I thought that was interesting to just get 2 different perspectives on that. But the defense seems determined. We saw what happened last game. Patrick Mahomes got hurt during the playoffs in that game. They obviously play aggressive. They're going to come out definitely ready to beat us after we sent them home last year in the playoffs. So I think it's going to be really intense. The one thing that I will say is I think our O-line with Jawan Taylor is in much better shape than it was last year. I think it'll be really interesting to see what Andy Reid dials up with him. I think that our O-line is very athletic, so I would like to see them run a few more screenplays. I would like to see Pacheco get a little bit more involved. I don't really want to get too far into short yardage, but I think whenever it comes to like 3rd down and short, we need to make sure we're utilizing the run game a little bit more and not just going to Blake Bell or, getting too predictable. Because I don't think I can watch that anymore. The whole league knows what's coming. Like, we cannot keep doing this to ourselves. Someone made the joke that, and I forget who it is, but someone made the joke that on 3rd and short yardage, somebody should just false start. So that we have a few more yards to go and we know we can convert, because man,
I've been saying that. I'd rather be 3rd and 6 than 3rd and 1. Just have Jawan Taylor jump off early. I said that last night in the stream, but I also said during the game, Lions game, I said, why am I more comfortable about 3rd and 21 than 3rd and 1? Like, why is that? So yeah, I agree with you. Hope they fix it. The run game, Mahomes had 45 yards rushing, which is as many yards as Pacheco and Clyde had combined. That is not good. You got to fix that. Here's what I'm going to say about that. Pacheco, he was fresh back, kind of like Tony. He did not really he participated in practices but could not have any contact until like that last preseason game, and he played like a few snaps. So I do want to see Pacheco get more involved. They also need to watch out for the former 1st overall pick. I don't want to skip out on Trayvon Walker. So they do have Josh Allen, and they got the former, I think was he the 1st overall in 2022? I believe he was. So yeah, they got their hands full. They got their hands full in a good way, and I really hope they either establish the run game or a better, more effective offset of the run game. I kind of talked about this. Do you agree with me that the Chiefs, they have an offset of the run game? So they've got like jet sweeps or bubble screens or quick passes, and that's kind of an offset of the Chiefs run game that they utilize. So on paper, it's like, oh, they didn't really do well against, or as a unit rushing. But it's like, well, when you've got all these other ways that are virtually extensions of the run, it's fine. But when, like against the Lions, they struggled with even being able to do that, even on the short yardage stuff with the drop passes. Well, then they really need to rely more on the run game, and they couldn't. They couldn't get it done.
Yeah, and I think I would really like to see them give whether it's Pacheco or McKinnon or even some of these receivers a chance to get into a rhythm. I know we've got a lot of different weapons and targets, and we're trying to get everyone involved, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad we've got some depth, but there has to be some sort of consistency, and there has to be some way to get these guys in a rhythm, because if there's a drop pass or if there's a miscommunication, like I felt like last game with MVS, I mean, I think the guy he had 2 targets for 2 catches for 48 yards, and then we just didn't go back to him. Similar, I think Justin Watson had a decent game, and at least he was catching the ball. So I would like to see them stay consistent. I would like to see them go back to guys who have the hot hand. And I still want to say that I commend Andy Reid. Whenever a guy does drop a pass, I like that they kind of go back to him so that they can get their mentality back up. But I also think like going to someone 3 times and they've dropped it 3 times, like we got to be able to draw a line and be like, you know what, maybe today's not your day. And I think that Andy kind of owned that in the presser. He said, I wasn't putting Tony in the right positions, but I would just like to see some consistency with targets and some consistency with the run game as well.
Yep. You kind of covered it. I would love to see. I think part of the issue is just they couldn't get into a rhythm, with the drop passes, and they sputtered. They had that one drive last game where they went like 70 yards in like a minute or what. I don't even remember the exact. They went all the way down the field. Remember, it was I think it was the MVS pass. And then the Justin Watson right after that, they actually rushed to the line, hurry up, left side to Watson. And then I think it was Rashee Rice ended up scoring shortly after. I was like, yo, the Chiefs offense is back. Well, they couldn't really do anything after that. They put up 2 field goals in the second half, and that's not enough. So Kelce or no Kelce, they've got to do more. I think Kelce's going to help there. But part of me wouldn't even be surprised if the Chiefs err on the side of caution and rest him 1 more week, though he's going to do everything he can to play. He's trending upwards. He's looking better. He's feeling better. He just spoke on his podcast today, said he's going to give it his best shot. And I'll be very intrigued to see. I know Chris Jones will more than likely play, but I'll be intrigued to see if Kelce plays. Here's another thing to mention here. Where's this stat? Andy Reid lost to the Jags in 2006. Okay. Since then, he's won like 7 in a row. This is just him as a head coach, whether it's for the Eagles or the Chiefs, every time he played the Jags. He lost to them in 2006. He beat him in 2010, 2013, 2016, 2018, 2019, and twice in 2022. 7 games in a row. Sometimes that doesn't matter, but I will say this. If anybody's going to come up with a good game plan to try to squeak out 8 in a row, it's going to be Andy Reid. Did you know that? Did you know that stat? That was an interesting one.
I had no idea. No. That's amazing though. I hope he keeps it going. The one thing I want to add about this Jags game is, and a lot of people kind of mention this, but the heat in Florida, how much do we think that'll play a factor in this game?
I looked up the weather.
Obviously, what is it?
I looked up the weather.
What do you have?
It's like in the low mid 80s and rainy. Like it should be like scattered thunderstorms. I don't know exactly what it'll look like on that day, but I think it's in the 80s. So is that hot? Or is that a little more mild than you were thinking it could be?
I don't think it's necessarily the temperature. It's just so humid down there that it makes it feel so much hotter than it is. And I mean, here in Missouri, we have our own bit of humidity to deal with, but it's just a lot thicker down there. So that's the only real concern I have with it being a home game for the Jags. I don't necessarily worry about their fans or playing on the road. It's just the heat there. I think that would be a concern. But Andy knows if he's beaten them, 7 times in a row, 8 times in a row? Would you say 7 times in a row?
I think it's 7 going on hopefully 8.
Yeah. Well, a few of those have been away games, I'm sure. So he knows how to handle the heat down there. So It'll be fine.
Speaking of concerns, I will say this. Listen to this stat. Mahomes was pressured on 43.6% of his pass attempts and hit 7 times against the Lions. Now, are the Jags the Lions in regards to their line? Maybe not, but they still have a good line. That's a bit of a concern. Mahomes got sacked 0 times, so we don't really think like, oh, he got pressured almost on half of the snaps here. I will say this, some of that might be self-inflicted because Mahomes did hold on to the ball at times, which resulted in pressure. But on the flip side, sometimes he held on to the ball long because he's scrambling around avoiding pressure. He's a anti-sack magician. We'll just say he's one of the best at not getting sacked. But I do want to see him get pressured a little bit less. I think that would be ideal. I think Donovan Smith gave up 7 pressures or something crazy. It was quite a bit. That might be high, but he also had that holding penalty as well. He was the most penalized tackle in the league last year. Remember that? I think it was 2nd and 10. So it was a particular drive. 1st and 10, the incompletion to Tony at the end of the game that should have put them in field goal range and to win that game. That was that really bad drop. Okay, you remember this drive? And then 2nd and 10, it was a 17-yard catch to Sky Moore, holding Donovan Smith. So that takes it to 2nd and 20. He almost throws a pick as he was trying to target Rice on the right side. That's 3rd and 20. Or would that have been 4th and 20? I don't remember what the 3rd and 20 play was, but then they had 4th down. Jawan Taylor false start, 4th and 25. So I'm kind of rabbit trailing, but like this is just stuff that like you can't shoot yourself in the foot. And then when plays do happen, can't have holding on Donovan Smith or on whoever. Like you've got to play a clean game. You've got to minimize turnovers. Like just clean up the mistakes. Think about this. No pick 6 from Tony, and then he catches that ball at the end of the game. I mean, we're talking about a 10-point game. I mean, Chiefs win. Now, hats off to the Lions. It ain't about what ifs in the NFL. It's about what you did do, and they did do enough to win by 1. I saw somebody in a chat recently that said it's not a real win because they only won by 1. I'm like, it's a W on their stat sheet and an L on the Chiefs' foreheads. I mean, I don't know there's no moral victories in this game. But I'm excited about Kelce hopefully being back, Chris Jones hopefully being back, and just the Chiefs going out there being hungry to mitigate these mistakes and limiting the turnovers. And I think was it just that one turnover? But that was a huge one. It was a pick 6.
A big one. Man, yeah. I think it's going to be, I think Andy knows Andy Reid's a good coach. I think he knows what he needs to do to get these guys disciplined, specifically on the O-line as you were speaking to the penalties and some of the pressures. But I also think the drops and the communication, those are some things that he can hone in on. And I think play calling in general, right? Like I just think that there was an opportunity for Andy to be better on the sideline. And again, he spoke to that. So I think given that they've had 10 days to prepare, we've got Jones back out there. I think also like that was kind of a dark cloud, right? Like this Jones deal was kind of a dark cloud. He was at Arrowhead watching from his suite. Like, and I don't know what the locker room is. And a lot of guys say that the locker room is completely different than what the fans are seeing and what the fans are hearing. But in general, I just feel like that's behind us now. And it's got, some positive vibes coming our way. So I think we're going to see a different team. I think Mahomes is going to be out to prove some things. I think Tony is going to be out to prove that he can still catch the ball. So I think we'll be good.
What are your let's go predictions? What do you got? What do you got for score predictions?
Man, I was so wrong. A little. I was so wrong though last time. Like I think I was like 38-35 and it was like 20-21. So this game, I'm going to go 31-28 Chiefs. I think we're going to get our offensive mojo back. And I think whether that's Kelce or whether that's just being able to get into a rhythm without Kelce, I think we're going to go 31-28. You go. What do you got?
That's what I predicted last game. 31-28 Chiefs. It ended up being 2021 Lions. I'm going to actually go a little bit lower than that. I'm going to go 27-24 Chiefs. I hope it's not that close, but I am going to ride some of my hype of the defense on how well they did against the Lions, plus the momentum of Chris Jones being back. I'm just going to kind of ride that wave and think Spag's going to come out with a great game plan. I will say this. The Jags are a great opponent. Their offense is fantastic. However, the last 2 times the Chiefs have played them, they held them to, I think, 20 or less both games. Now, they do have Calvin Ridley now. Trevor Lawrence has got another year under his belt. They're pissed about losing in the divisional to a one-legged Mahomes. There's a lot of things there. I could definitely be wrong. I would love to get some of your predictions in the chat, guys, and we could definitely look at those. I hope it's not 27-24. I hate heart attack games every freaking game. Like, I get it, Andy Reid and company, like, they try to do, they try to win every game, but they're trying to do just enough to win and save plays and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, if we could win by 10, I would love it. I just think the Jags are a very good team, and it could go either way. But I'm going to roll with the Chiefs. I think Mahomes and company are going to rally from this week 1 loss. I think the defense are going to come out firing, and hopefully the Chiefs get the dub. 20, what did I say? 27-24? So I'm going with Chiefs.
Yeah. All right. I like it. And I'm with you. I don't need 3-point games or 1-point games or me pulling my hair out in the fourth quarter, but that's typically what happens. And that's what comes with the territory of being a Chiefs fan. And there were so many games last year. The Colts game, the Texans game, where I was like, why? What are we doing? Why are we doing this to ourselves? But then we won a Super Bowl at the end of it. So I was like, okay, maybe they know a thing or two more than me, I guess.
What do you think about this score?
199. Wouldn't that be something? just bombs down the field the whole game. Can imagine.
Hey, well, there we go. So we've got, you said 31-28, Chiefs dub.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go 27-24. That's it, guys. We'll take a couple questions and then we'll probably get out of here. But Kylie, that was a lot of fun. Week 2, under wraps, or under what do we say? Episode number 2 is over. We finished it.
Behind us.
I'm failing. We crushed it. That's what we did. Episode 2. Sean at the beginning said this with the 10 bomb. He said, "Love the homage ad, Kylie."
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. The homage has some good stuff out. I don't know if anyone ever looks at their merch or buys their stuff, but their t-shirts are super soft, and they have these super sweet. They've done like a collab with starter jackets, and they've got some really cool jackets. So thanks for that. Appreciate that.
Sean back with another 10 just now. He's following up with another homage.
Up?
No, I'm just kidding. What'd he say? No. Thanks again, Sean. 41-27. Similar to bounce back on the road versus San Francisco and Tampa Bay last year. We scored 41, 44, and 34 following losses last year. That's a pretty good stat. I'd prefer 41-27.
Yeah, that's an angry Mahomes, I think is what that means, right? That's a man on a mission ready to burn things to the ground. You can tell too in his pressers whenever they ask him questions and he's just like, this is the face of Mahomes, by the way. Yeah. But yeah, he just gets that like angry, driven, like, don't talk to me. I've got a game to prepare for kind of thing.
He was pretty flustered in that game too. This is a good question from Kyle. Who's your player of the game? Maybe player to watch. You want to go offense? You want to go offense? I'll go defense.
Yeah.
Or you want to do both?
I was going to say let's do both. Yeah,
let's do both.
Let's do it. So on the offense, I feel like it's too easy to say Tony just because of all of the bad vibes around him from last game. So I'm not going to go there. I'm going to say Sky Moore. I think we really need to see a little bit more from Sky Moore. There was a lot of hype around him going into the season. He's got to get more separation. There were some times in the last game where I was like, why are you not open? What's the deal here? Really want to see, like, that was something he was really good at coming out of college. So I think he can do it, but I'm ready to see it. So I'm going to go Sky Moore on the offense. On the defense, man, I've been riding this Karlaftis train for a while. I really think he's going to have more. I'm really hopeful that he gets double-digit sacks this year. And now with Chris Jones back and, grabbing that double team, I think Karlaftis is going to have a really good game. I think this is going to be almost like a coming out party for him for this season. I know he played well last game, but I think again with Jones back, it's just really going to open up some plays for him. So those are my two. Now you go.
All right, I'm gonna go with Isaiah Pacheco on the offense. It's easy to say Mahomes, so I'm just gonna like leave out Mahomes, even though he's the player to watch always. But I'm just gonna go with Isaiah Pacheco. Can they get something established with that guy? A little bit of a run game. Remember, he had 100 yards rushing almost in the divisional game. Some of that was like 40 or 50 yards on that 198-yard Chad Henne drive when Mahomes was out. But still, like, if they can get Pacheco involved or just a run game established a little bit, like it's only going to help the Chiefs offense. So I'm going to watch that, and I think I'm going to cheat and say I also want to watch Donovan Smith and then Jawan Taylor, especially with Taylor going against Josh Allen. I'm just matchups to watch and things to look for. Let's see. You said Karlaftis for the defense?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look at the secondary. I've seen some mixed stuff about Justin Reed's performance in the game against the Lions. I think he had some bright spots, and I think he struggled. I would really love to see just a nice, clean game overall from Justin Reed. I think he had a decent game. I haven't like looked at the grades from PFF recently or anything like that, but want to see a clean game from one of the leaders of the secondary back there. And then I want to see him clamp down on Calvin Ridley if possible. That would be much appreciated in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you said Justin Reed because I feel like he's a guy who came on strong towards the end of the year and last year. And I think being like one of the captains of the defense, we definitely need him to step up. I need to go back and kind of look at his performance, but I know he had a couple missed tackles last game. So I like that. That's a good one. I'm going to be watching Justin Reed too. That's good.
Yeah, we're going to go with that. And then of course, like I want to watch Chris Jones. I just have no idea what to expect. Like how many snaps is he really going to play after not being around the team since February? So I am intrigued. I want to watch it. So he's another guy that I'm just like, how many snaps is he going to play? What's it going to look like? Mm-hmm. I'll be ever so curious. They might even just put him out there and say, draw a double, and let the other guys work. So we'll kind of see. I'm definitely intrigued. Definitely intrigued there. Jonathan Ray said Sky got them big hands and can't hold on to the ball. Well, some of those throws, he just needs to be about 3 inches taller. He's 5'10". Is sometimes the issue on those high throws.
Yeah, and there's a couple times where he needs to stop and he keeps going, and so then Mahomes kind of throws up behind him, and so there's just still some chemistry issues with them. I have faith in Sky.
There is. Did you watch the film from QB School on the Chiefs offense? You see that video?
No, no, I didn't.
He has a big YouTube channel. He's a former quarterback, NFL quarterback. Bounced around several teams, but he does a lot of film reviews of games. And he did a film review on the Chiefs offense, and he highlighted Sky Moore a little bit. And it's like they're still building that chemistry. And I need to see more chemistry built quickly here because Sky's going into year 2, and we need it. We need it. So let's go. I'm gonna not overreact and give a slight pass week 1, as even Andy Reid said today in his presser. A lot of these guys that's their first time getting some real reps. I mean, they were getting reps in training camp, minimal reps, like a drive during the preseason. So I need to see improvements, but I am optimistic that we will see them in this game.
I'll say this about Sky. I think we definitely need to see a little bit of movement in this game. I think if after the Bears game we still don't see anything from Sky, like that's when I would hit the panic button on him. Because the Bears secondary is just garbage. So if he can't do anything in that game, that's when I'll start to feel like, ooh, this might not be what we thought it is. But I expect to see him do something in the Jags game.
Sky?
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him, man. Like, hey, every opportunity, let's go. But you can't have 45 snaps on offense like he had last game, 3 targets for 0 yards. Obviously, the Donovan Smith holding penalty negated a 8 or 17-yard completion. I get it. But I gotta see a little bit more. I'm rooting for him though. I'm not in the hate Sky train, or I've seen people say he's a bust. I'm like, I need a little bit more time. I need a little bit more time, but I'm rooting for the guy. Kylie, let's go. What are you cooking? We're gonna talk about this like the last question every time because you love to cook on game day. So what are you eating game day? Because it's a noon game.
I like to cook anytime, but yeah, game days for me are just like super special. I'm a big foodie, so I like to mix it up, and I never like to do anything twice. So tacos were last game. This game, with it being like one of only two noon games, I know we've got an early Germany game coming up, but this being an early morning game, I'm going with brunch. I'm doing brunch theme. I was like, when else am I gonna do this on a game day? So I don't know. It's probably gonna be a breakfast casserole of some sort. I'm going to do some Bloody Marys. So rather than, I'll probably have some beers as well, but maybe some mimosas, some Bloody Marys. Obviously going to have some bacon. I freaking love bacon. I know who's with me on that. I feel like everyone here has to love bacon,
Facts.
right? Right.
You're gonna have. Did you say mimosas, Bloody Marys, and beers?
Well, you have to have options because
yeah,
what if? Because here's the thing: is
okay.
Yeah, well, like with Bloody Marys, and I don't know if anyone could really relate to this, but I feel like one is enough for me because it's so tomatoey that like I really just need like one and I'm done. So then I'll have to switch to a beer or a mimosa, and then a water. I'll have a water in there as well. Don't worry, guys, there'll be water, but
put electrolytes in it.
Yeah, no, they'll definitely be electrolytes. So that's what I got going because again, like we were saying earlier, it's back to 3:00 games. It's back to primetime games, which I'm all for. 3:30 is my favorite time slot personally, but I want to take advantage of the early game. Get up, make some breakfast, get some coffee on, watch some football, get a victory.
Heck yeah, love it. I saw you asking about food questions on Twitter, so I was curious what you were doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna eat before and then have a couple Tank Sevens. That's what I do during games. It's going to be stressful enough. So that's
right. Cause you don't eat during the games, right? Cause you have to do the live stream.
Yeah. So I'll eat before. I'll probably eat at like 11. Just eat whatever the fam has and just call it good. Game days are different for me now since I call them, but it's a lot of fun and I enjoy doing it. We peaked at like, we had a couple thousand, I think, in there for last game. It was for the season opener. But I am curious to see normally the noon games because the noon games are sometimes the view radius. Like people can't view a noon game as much as they can like a primetime game. Like if they're out of network, unless you pay for whatever YouTube TV's NFL packages that they have now. What is it called? It's not Red Zone. It's
Red Zone.
Sunday Ticket. I think.
Boom.
Yeah, so
that's right.
I think we'll get more on a noon game. So I'm intrigued to see that, but super excited. Thanks for your time, Kylie, and until next week, when the Chiefs are 1-1 after a dub, and we chatted over Wednesday, we will definitely chat then. Do you have any parting words for the community?
No, just bring your spirit on Sunday and cheer loud. I know it's an away game, but make sure you're bringing all the positive vibes. Bring your red on Friday and go Chiefs. Go Chiefs. And also, one last thing. If you saw me ask about brunch recommendations on Twitter, please respond so that I can get more ideas for what I'm going to cook on Sunday. Thank you. And go Chiefs.
Oh, you haven't completely landed the plane?
Now, I have the breakfast casserole, but I like to make a spread. So if there's anything else that sparks my interest, then yeah.
If you're not following Kylie on Twitter, go follow her, the Kylie Winfrey. And I saw like 15 people ask if you were married today. So you're definitely married, and your 1-year anniversary is creeping up. When is it? It's soon, right?
It's October 1st. So it's a couple weeks away.
It's in like 2 weeks. Y'all doing something? Like, are you going somewhere or you have plans?
We have plans to do something. We haven't fully figured out what we're doing yet, but yeah, we've got plans. It's crazy that it's almost been a year. The whole year has flown by. So you got Derek Thomas up.
I saw the legend. I was like, I gotta see the legend. Well, heck yeah. We'll we'll have more shows closer to that 1 year anniversary. So we'll give you congrats then. But thanks again, Kylie. Thanks again, everybody, for hanging out.
Thank
Sean,
you.
Ghost Kyle, Ron, thanks for the gifted. Sean, thanks for the back-to-back 10s. Guys, thanks for hanging out. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go.
How about those Chiefs?